Welcome back to Scooby-Doo Apocalypse. In this world, Velma helped develop a nanite virus that has been spreading across the world, turning everyone into various forms of monsters. Using the super intelligent dog Scooby-Doo and his genetically altered cousin Scrappy-Doo, they attacked the monster who seemingly was controlling all of the other monsters, and they both seemingly died in the battle. Today, we'll see the aftermath of the supposed death of Scooby and Scrappy. In our last video, we watched as the Scooby gang made their way to Washington after rescuing Rufus Dinkley's wife Daisy. After following the trail of a group of monsters, the gang had to fight off Scrappy-Doo and his band of dogs, while also dealing with a creature controlling the monsters. But in a last-ditch effort to save their human friends, Scooby and Scrappy took on the creature, ultimately giving their lives to stop it and free the monsters. As the time passes, Shaggy, Velma, and Daphne all sit in a tree, waiting in hopes that the freed monsters will disperse. Shaggy looks at the swarm of monsters, asking Velma if she thinks that these monsters will ever go away, and she tells him, judging by them really not doing anything, they may very well die from starvation before they have a chance to leave. Shaggy sighs, saying, "Maybe Scooby will make it back to the camp, and let Fred and Daisy know where we are." Velma stops him and says that he must face the fact Scooby and Scrappy met their ends when they destroyed the entity controlling the monsters. And Shaggy yells, "I don't care what you want! Scoob's a survivor! Scoob is definitely out there!" But as the two go back and forth, they begin to notice Daphne being rather quiet. Velma says that they need to be quiet now. No more talking so they might have a chance to survive the night. And as Daphne listens to them, she thinks to herself, yeah, surviving the night. It's a wonder we survived at all considering what we've all been through. Now we're stuck in a tree surrounded by mutated monstrosities. What would Daddy say if he saw her now? Actually, he would stop whining. Even though she grew up privileged, her father would always push her to be better, work harder, unlike her mother. Her father used to be so proud of her when she graduated first in her class in journalism, but that all went away when she lost her job in Washington, D.C. and turned to TV. After having her own show on a major network, she was just following fake mysteries like the Loch Ness Monster. Then after some time, there was a new president that took over the network, and they decided to cancel Daphne's show, Enigma Quest, regardless of its popularity. So Daphne did what any person in a situation would do and knocked her boss out. Thankfully though, Fred was always there to bail her out, even if it was from actual jail. And it was after Fred convinced their boss not to press charges that he mentioned maybe they should do something on their own. His aunt works for the Knitting Channel, and they wanted to rebrand themselves to get a younger audience. 2 months later, Daphne Blake's Mysterious Mysteries made its debut, which ultimately led to an anonymous tip about the complex. And now, in their current situation, she's stuck in a tree with an erotic genius and a zen hipster with monsters that could rip them to shreds in the seconds they step down. Meanwhile, back with Fred and Daisy. Daisy says Cliffy finally managed to fall asleep after asking when is Scrappy coming back 100 times. She can't really imagine what he's going through. Traveling on the road with a pack of dogs and... Fred? Half paying attention, Fred asks her what. "Oh, sorry. Guess I've just been off of my head worrying about." Daisy asks Daphne, and Fred tells her, yeah, we've been gone for too long. Daisy says that he shouldn't worry too much. Daphne's a born leader, a warrior. If anyone will get them out, it's going to be her. Fred sighs, saying, yeah, that's what everyone keeps saying, but I know her better than anyone else. She acts tough and strong, but she's really more vulnerable and insecure than she lets on. Daisy then says that he does love her though. Did they ever get close? Fred thinks back to the time he met Daphne in college and they hit it off once. And it didn't go so well. She tells him not to give up on her yet. God knows they need a few more hopeless romantics in the world But before she can finish, Cliffy calls out for Scrappy again. And Daisy says it looks like Cliffy's having yet another nightmare. Better go take care of him. Fred sighs and says, yeah. A few hours later, with the others, Velma and Shaggy begin to doze off when Shaggy suddenly falls out of the tree in front of a monster. The monster growls, looking over at Shaggy, and without even thinking, Daphne jumps down from her branch onto the monster. She yells for him to get back up, and just as Shaggy starts to climb, Daphne follows closely behind. As she makes her way up, another monster grabs her by the hair and throws her back to the ground, and all of the monsters begin to swarm around her. She yells that they better make it back alive and tell Freddy that. But just then Velma stops her and asks, "Do you really think we're going to leave you?" and jumps off from her branch to help, but she ends up missing. Velma coughs as she looks around, stating, "Okay, I need to work on my aim." And seconds later, Shaggy jumps down, stating, "I will save you!" Daphne then tells the two of them that it's too bad that there's not a camera crew here. It would have made a great final episode of Daphne Blake's Mysterious Mysteries. And just as she says that, a voice calls out, "Don't give up yet, Red!" As Daphne turns to ask who, Scrappy comes charging in while riding on Scooby's back. She shouts, "They're alive!" And Scrappy says, "You bet we're alive, but those beasties won't be for long once we get through to them. Right, Scoobert?" Then Scooby barks, "That's right!" A short while later, after nearly bleeding out, Velma and Daphne carry Shaggy's body through the woods. He tells them that they should leave him behind and go find Fred and Daisy. Once they get back to the mystery machine, they can just come pick him up. Velma says absolutely not. There still might be some creatures around, and Daphne adds, "In your shape, they would tear you to pieces." Velma then tells Shaggy that he was incredibly brave back there. He fought hard, so just try and relax until they get back to the camp. Shaggy says that he can't forget them, though. Each and every one of those monsters, they used to be humans like them. Daphne shouts that if they're ever going to restore humanity, then they have to stay alive, even if it means killing a few monsters. They're not human anymore, but if he's going to let himself have compassion for them, the monsters will destroy him and the rest of them. Velma says for the record she agrees with Shaggy. They have to stop those things, but they can never forget who they were before the nanite plague that turned them into these monsters. Daphne snaps back. Believe her, she'll never forget. If she has to destroy a few thousand monsters to save billions, then so be it. As the three walk on, Scooby looks back asking, "Scrappy?" And Shaggy says that he must be worried about Scrappy, wondering if he made it. Daphne tells him good riddance to him. And Shaggy says, "Good riddance. Without Scrappy, there's a good chance we'd all be dead right now." And after walking for a little while, the four of them get back to the camp while Velma patches up Shaggy and Cliffy asks, "Where's Scrappy?" Daisy tells him that she's sure that he's fine, and Daphne says, "Don't lie to the kid." And Cliffy says, "What does that mean?" Velma says, "Well, Scrappy was incredibly brave. He took on wave after wave of monsters so that we could get away. He sacrificed himself for the greater good." And Daphne says that Velma shouldn't sugarcoat it. Sure, Scrappy helped them, but it was pure luck that they got away. They all would have been better off without him. Cliffy begins to sob, stating, No, he's the best!" And as the night winds down, Shaggy begins to remember what happened just before they got away. Scooby and Scrappy were viciously fighting off the monsters when one leaped out of the shadows at him. The monster pinned him to grab but as Shaggy tries to remember, he wakes up in the hotel bed asking where are they. Velma says that they're in the Motor Inn in Montana, just over the border from Washington. He's been asleep for hours. They had to come here to get some antibiotics, among other things, but everyone is outside. Shaggy asks how is Daisy, and Velma says that he would do best not to worry about any woman who is married to her brother. All of them are emotionally damaged goods. Shaggy then tells her that if being an emotionally damaged person stopped people from falling in love, we'd all be living alone. Outside, Cliffy asks, "Throw a ball around?" And Fred asks him why not. He says because he's only got one arm and he's on crutches. All of them are so quick to leave Scrappy behind. Just leave him alone. As he wanders off, he goes around the corner to find Scooby going to the bathroom. Scooby says that he's sorry, and Cliffy says, "Don't worry about it. It's not like he's never seen a dog poop before." He was running around with Scrappy for weeks, and when they had to go, they had to go. Scooby sighs hearing Scrappy's name, and Cliffy says that they just finally started to like each other, huh? He can see that Scrappy was a good dog, just like him, right? He can't trust anyone, especially that crazy red-haired lady. Well, he trusts Daisy. She's right, and she trusts him. So, how about they go play fetch? He knows where a ball is. A short while later outside, Shaggy begins to think back again what happened. When the monster pinned him down, he told everyone to leave him. Just as he said that, the monster was pulled off, and Scrappy said, "The hipster ain't dying today." Scrappy then wrestled the monster down, telling Shaggy, "I remember back at the complex, you treated all the dogs like we were your family, nothing like the others. Now it's time for us to get on out of here before..." But that was the sound of ripping flesh could be heard, and Scrappy screamed out in pain. As Velma was picking him up, Shaggy told her to wait. "Those things are killing Scrappy!" And Velma shouted that they don't have weapons and there's no way to stop it. Scrappy knew what he was doing and he wanted to buy them some time, so they need to accept the precious gift and live. Shaggy leans against the mystery machine sighing, and Fred asks him what's wrong as he looks down. Shaggy tells him that he just keeps thinking of what Scrappy did for them, what he did for him. They are terrified of him, but then he turned out to be the most human of all. Then they have a guy like Rufus who turned out to be the biggest monster of them all. It's a weird freaking world that they live in. Weird freaking world. Fred says that he's not sure. Daphne thinks that Scrappy isn't the hero that he's making himself out to be. She thinks that Shaggy stops him, telling him, "Yeah, I know what she thinks, and I don't care." Up ahead, Daphne and Daisy scout out the area and they find a town, a clean, undamaged, normal-looking town. Daphne says that they should go check it out, and Daisy insists they go back and tell the others. It's possible that the place could be a trap. They should go back and tell them so they can go see it as a group, not rush into something that they don't know anything about. Daphne grumbles and tells her, "Fine, they'll go back, but watch. They're all going to agree that they should have gone in." As they get back to the camp, Velma says that she agrees with Daisy it could very well be a trap. But Daphne begins to argue that they should go there. There's a rustle in the bushes, and when everyone looks back, they all stop talking. 3 men holding guns tell them, with how things have been, they in the town don't like taking any chances. So if they could be kind enough to come with them. A short while later, in the small, busy little town, everyone sees people walking around having a good time with no concerns of any monsters. Over at the police station, the sheriff says that he's sorry for the confusion, but this town doesn't know anything about any nanite plague. They did lose contact with the outside world, and people ventured out stating that they had seen things that shouldn't exist, but nothing has come close to their quiet little town. That is to say, unless they are really monsters. Velma says that if they were actually monsters, why would she have chosen this as the disguise? And the sheriff says that he's not sure. Maybe a crafty one. For now, they're just gonna have to keep them locked up in a room until they figure out what's going on. They can continue this conversation later. As another sheriff walks Velma out, she says that she would be happy to continue this. They're all in the same boat, right? And the sheriff smiles, telling her, yeah, we're all in the same boat. Once Velma is brought out to the hotel with everyone, the sheriff escorting Velma tells everyone to just sit tight for a few hours to sort things out. Tonight, they will have themselves a little get-together to introduce themselves and make them all feel nice and welcome. As the sheriff shuts the door and locks it, Velma asks if they're so welcomed, why are they being locked up? While everyone argues what they should do next, Cliffy and Scooby listen in on the other room, trying not to pay attention. As Cliffy gets up and walks to the window, he looks out to see a movie theater showing Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And as he reads it, he begins to get a sinking feeling that maybe they're not all safe here. Scooby Dooby-Doo, where are you? For the record, guys, I saw that episode of Supernatural where they went into Scooby-Doo. That had to be one of the most incredible episodes of Supernatural, wasn't it? If you don't even watch Supernatural, go watch the Scooby-Doo episode. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying Scooby-Doo Apocalypse, and don't forget to let me know in the comments down below that you want more Scooby Apocalypse, and by giving this video a like, I know what's going on. You can also follow me on our Discord and chat with the entire community about everything that's been going on in Scooby Dooby-Doo. I will see you next time right here. Where are you?